one nation, indivisible, colon, true or false, rhetoric or reality. One nation, indivisible, true or false, rhetoric or reality. Now, you know those words, one nation, indivisible, come out of the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation. We want to be one. We want to be single. We want to have a single end, a single goal, a single purpose. We would like that. We would like for that single end, goal, purpose to be the common good. That is what we would like. What a great day it would be if, for just an instant, we could suppress our preoccupation with self, with private wishes, private desires, private gains, profits. What a great day it would be if for just an instant we could forget about I, me, and think about us, we, community, the public interest, the common weal. That would be terrific. We have failed. Why do I say that? I say we have failed because we are a divided people. We are separate. We seem to speak the rhetoric of one nation, of community, but it seems to be very elusive, very elusive. And people who come to power, it seems they have been more concerned with exacerbating our divisions rather than healing our wounds. Think about that. If we are the inclusive society, the inclusive government we say we are, then all people, individually and collectively, should have a say. Everybody ought to have a say if we are this all-inclusive people. There should be no one excluded from the paths to power. No one. No one excluded for reasons of status, income, gender, or any of the other extraneous litany of things which keep people from rising to the top. We've got a lot of things still in us, historically, traditionally, customarily, which prevent us from joining together in community. We would rather beat our breasts, salute the flag, and say that we are all one, all inclusive, liberty and justice for all. We would like to believe that. We say it. We say it, but reality gives the lie to what we say. The gaps are widening between members of minority groups and the majority population. The suspicion is there as a result of the failure of those who draft the charter to consult the very people who will be affected by whatever action is taken in their behalf. The people who are affected want to be consulted about ways and means to bring about implementation of a renewed public policy. Any effort leading to a successful outcome of this renewed policy must include, in the planning, the people who are going to be impacted by the policy. Now, how can a group, blacks, Hispanics, whoever, How can a group traditionally on the outside of the policy process, how is that group going to affect the decision in such a broad-based policy as inclusion of all people in the workings of this country? How can the outs influence the ins? What clout can they bring to persuade others to include them from planning to completion? They can't bring money because they don't have wealth. They can't bring status because they don't have that. What they can bring is the possibility of success or failure. The outs can cause a policy to fail if they do not desire to cooperate with those who are implementing the policy and trying to bring about an outcome. It is the only reality the outs can bring with them. We will cooperate if you let us be a part of the initial process from beginning to end, but if you don't include us, count us out. The policy-making process should be based on mutual trust and cooperation in pursuit of that common end, that common goal, that unity of purpose. Distrust and lack of cooperation equals stalemate and failure. So can we become one nation, indivisible? I think the answer to that question is we must become such a nation. We don't really have a choice. We must become such a nation because the alternative consigns us to a nation of permanent unrest, permanent instability. That, in my opinion, is un-American.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're running a little late, they say, and so I'll give back some of the time that you would have stood applauding me. There is an idea in a Republican form of government that the citizen should help the government do its job. The citizen should help the government live up to its promise, because you see a need and then you go about filling it. Now, that sounds like a pretty straightforward proposition. The citizen, the individual, permits, allows the government to do certain things on behalf of the citizen. If the government falls short, the citizen steps in and fills in the gap. Now that sounds like a pretty straightforward proposition, but it really seems to have gone awry of late. There appears to be a struggle by the American people to get reconnected with their government. What we are seeing is a deep mistrust by the citizen of government. And that mistrust manifests itself in any number of ways. We talk about we want to throw the rascals out, but they're our rascals. We chose them. We don't have to go back very far to notice times when we have become so dissatisfied with the way the government was operating. There are examples of citizens getting a little bit agitated with their leaders and feeling a dissonance, a disconnect. Well, what I want you to do is focus on reconnecting. But we have got to make our public officials accountable to us. And you vote people in and you vote people out. And you don't have to circumscribe or proscribe how long they can stay in the office. You see, we sort of have a way of focusing on the wrong things. Term limitation is not really an idea, said Tom Wicker on one occasion. Term limitation is more an emotion, a passion. It defies rational thought. We exercise the right to vote, and generally we make good decisions about the people we put in office. Now note, I said generally, not all the time. But generally, it is only occasionally that we have missteps. Why do we as a people seem to hold the Congress and the politicians in such low esteem? They really come across poorly in the media. And then you see those things and you think, I don't want those people. But that's an emotion, that's a passion. That is not a rational, reasonable, thoughtful response to reconnecting your government with its citizens. It is fundamental to our form of government that it be built on a foundation of trust. We have to trust them. We have to trust each other. We're all on this little speck of a planet called Earth, and we have got to trust each other if we do not want to see this tiny planet destroyed. And we can do that. What's happening? People who are elected to public office are not elitist, and we need to tell them that. They're one of us. They serve us. A democracy cannot tolerate an elitist. The public policy maker must enact policies which are inclusive and not exclusive. We are in a recession. Now, what are we going to do about that? Once, let's acknowledge the fact. Now, once we have done that acknowledgement, there is then this clamoring. Let's get an answer. Let's get something to jumpstart the economy. How many times have you heard the public officials say, I've got a plan to jumpstart the economy? The thing about it is, all of the plans being recommended will not have that effect. Why? Now, I know that we are Republicans and we are Democrats, but this is a nonpartisan talk I'm making. Therefore, let's be honest. When you have a $5 trillion economy, in this economic environment, there is no way to jumpstart the economy. You just can't do it. These are not happy times. These are not happy times for Americans. But we can have better times. And we can have better times if we stop wallowing in how bad the times are. Now just think for a minute. Think for a minute. We are a resilient people. We've been through a lot in this country, and we have overcome a lot. Our democracy works for us. I suggest that when we start looking for solutions, start with what we have. start with the ideals which are in place in the democracy. Do that first. I know we have problems, but we have learned serious lessons from our past, and they can be useful lessons for our future. We are resilient, we are tough, we are caring. We have a core set of values which we honor and we treasure. These values include respect for the dignity and autonomy of each and every human being. These values include a high regard for truth and honesty and justice and fairness. These are American ideals. We believe in life, not death. We believe that each person is entitled to an existence which enhances rather than a life which depresses and threatens. We find strength in diversity. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. We believe that motto so strongly we write it on our money. Now you know that's belief. I'm optimistic about the future because I have faith and I have trust in the American people. For many, these are difficult times, I realize that. But as a people, we have deep spiritual reserves. But I want to conclude with a statement made by Alexis de Tocqueville. Alexis de Tocqueville was a French nobleman who visited the United States in 1831. De Tocqueville came over here to observe our democracy in action. And after he observed, he wrote a book, and it was called Democracy in America. Now, de Tocqueville said this, and this is a direct quote from de Tocqueville. If I were asked to what the singular prosperity and growing strength of that people, the Americans, ought mainly to be attributed, de Tocqueville says, I should reply to the superiority of their women. Men, I didn't say that. A French nobleman said that. But I agree. Thank you for listening to me.